5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, LinkedIn. Welcome back to another HubSpot AI for beginners. I was just explaining what we do on the show broadly this morning on the Wake Up Customer Platform show because I'm in the AI boot camp. The
Oh,
HubSpot
you
AI.
lucky dog, man.
Did you try to get in, but you didn't?
Months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm in the HubSpot AI boot camp, and I was explaining the boot camp to George and Chris this morning on the Wake Up Customer Platform show. And I told them, like, it's interesting because in the AI boot camp, we're talking a lot about AI, but specifically we're talking about the AI tools in HubSpot. And why I found it to be interesting is you and I have been doing that for months. So we're kind of going over many of the things that you and I have talked about. This week we talked about Service Hub, and there are some really, really, really powerful AI tools in Service Hub, Customer Agent being the biggest one, but also the knowledge base gap, agent, which will identify gaps in your knowledge base and fill them in using your tickets, which is really cool. Yeah.
That is cool.
However, the problem with all of the Service Hub tools are people don't have Service Hub.
Yeah, I have a client that has it, but I think it's like the only one.
And I think the biggest issue I'm finding, especially with like Customer Agent is super powerful, super cool, but most of the teams I work with don't even really have like a service team, and they don't have live support.
Oh, okay.
And Customer Agent is cool and it like a bridge to live support, but you still need a human when the agent can't answer. And so it's kind of a bit of a trap. Like you're like, "Oh, cool, I can use this instead because I don't have live support, I could use this." But then you actually need live support to support the agent.
Mm,
So,
mm. This is why we test out these tools because it has a name and I immediately jump to conclusions about, it'll do this. And you
mhm,
have to dive in to find out what it actually does.
yeah. Um, but I do have an AI success story to start us off with today.
Awesome. I do too.
And I started to tell you about this, but didn't fully tell you. I used Breeze Assistant this week, and I said, "Hello, Breeze Assistant. Please create these two properties. One is a drop down select, high, medium, low, or something." And I told it the values to put in there. One is a number field, and then create a workflow that when the property in the drop down select changes, set the number field to this. So for example, when set to low, set the number field to 1. When medium, set the number field to 10. When high, set the number field to 100.
Mm-hmm.
And it did all that.
Wow.
And I knew this was a fairly straightforward setup.
But you and I did a branch through not Breeze, but through the little AI box at the top of
Mhm.
the workflow, probably in one of these lives, probably 2 months ago. And I don't remember what the branch was based off. It was based off of values in like original traffic source, paid, social, etc. And we couldn't get it to work at the time.
So it wasn't. I still don't think in my example, I didn't solve for that because what we did keep getting it to do is do a single action branch.
So this that you just described was single action branch?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like, if the value is this, do this. If the value is this, do this.
Let's bring up the screen.
Let's bring up the screen.
I'm going to create this. One property or action output. No. Okay, whatever. It was like this.
Put your
So close.
Show us. Those are, I see branches. What are you talking about?
And well, this is what the AI tool would do, but it's only if you do the one property or action output. It wouldn't do and or logic.
Oh, okay, got it.
And that's what we kept running into with the AI creation. But I knew that this was a single one action or property output when I built it. But still, it worked. It worked.
Nice.
By the time I wrote the prompt, sent the prompt, told Breeze yes to all the prompts, could I have done all of this? Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But I probably could have just from like a coaching perspective, I probably could have told my client to ask Breeze to do it.
Yeah.
Instead of asking me.
Yeah. I had a real win, like a real time-saving win, where I was just like, wow. I had a dashboard to build. And I said I was just feeling lucky. Isn't that like a Google thing, feeling lucky? I was feeling lucky, and I decided to give all of my report prompts to Breeze, just like, can you do this? And it was a 9, Casey. It was a 9. It would just like, here's what that looks like, right? Do you have any tweaks? Like, tell it what I want to tweak. And then it would give me a button. And when I clicked on the button, there's the report. And maybe, rows and columns needed to be switched, whatever. But everything that I wanted was in there. And there, like, I've never had a lot of success getting conversion rates calculated in a report in HubSpot, but the new journey reports, is it the funnel reports or the journey reports? What's the new one?
Journey.
Okay, so the new journey reports do that. And it just set it all up for me automatically, and I just had to tweak it. So it was, and I whipped out like a whole dashboard worth of reports in a morning.
That's pretty cool.
It was very cool, because I've tried to do that a number of times before, and same thing where it probably took me as much or more time to try to do it through AI.
I think I probably have some follow-up questions, but I'll save those for I'll save those for another time, because today what we're actually here to talk about is
we're here to talk about how to use AI.
How to use AI. We are, but we want to get our AI settings right, because this is the base of a lot of the AI tools inside of HubSpot, specifically if you're using AI for like content generation. And the past couple of weeks, we've looked at some level of content generation with the AI agents. Breeze Studio, agents. We looked at the blog research agent, and we also looked at the social post agent recently. And when you go to configure a lot of these agents, a couple of the things that are built in are the ideal customer profiles, product, services, and brand. and these are kind of built in. So we want to get these right, and we want to have them set up, period. And we want them to be accurate and well thought out so that we can everything else works kind of better.
Yeah. And if there's anything I've learned from watching Chris Carolyn do things is, I think one of the first things I ever noticed was like how much documentation he has. And
Yes.
when he's working with Claude, how many resource documents he has Claude looking at. And also uh, the fact that he bumps up against thresholds. Like Claude says, I can't accept any more resources from you. Like if you do, it's going to make me think really slow. So for AI, it's worth the investment on putting some of this stuff into documentation and sharing with it ahead of time.
I agree. I want to just, and I don't know if we'll do this one today, the ICP assistant, but just wanted to bring this up because if you are having trouble filling some of this stuff out, the ICP assistant may be a good one to try. And this is still in beta. It's not using credits. So there's kind of no harm in trying it.
Yeah, at least get started with something. I love a launch pad.
Cool. Yeah.
Kind of like the reports experience this week. I like get me started with something and then I'll fine tune it.
Yeah. So where do you get to these settings? You'll want to go into your HubSpot settings, and then if you scroll down in the settings to AI, first there are two tabs in the AI settings. First is access. This is what your AI has access to. We've touched on this before, because there are some agents that you have to require access to everything for the agents to use. So check this out if you don't already have everything checked off. Take a look here. But then we have data sources, and this is going to be where we're going to get some of that other data we talked about, like your ideal customer profile, your products and services and things.
Go back to access for just a second. There's something that I wanted to share here is that if you have ever looked here for the setting that says do or don't share my data with HubSpot, it's not here. You have to reach out to HubSpot directly to either toggle that on or off.
Oh. Interesting.
Or like what I'm specifically saying is like use my data to enrich their AI model.
Mm-hmm.
It's that setting. It's not something that you can interact with yourself.
I didn't even know that was something you could turn on and off. Interesting.
Probably because it's not here.
Yikes. So one of the things you'll have, the first things is your brand kit. This one's a little weird because it actually takes you to a whole nother place. Your brand kit is where you'll upload your logos, your colors, and then if you have a theme, it'll be here. These are all for like if you are using anything to like create landing pages, emails, things like that, it'll leverage like colors and things from here. Also, I'm quite certain just today I was using AI to create some images for social posts, and it said it will pull from the brand kit. So if you're using any like AI image generation in HubSpot, it'll pull from your brand kit here as well, in terms of logos, colors, and things. But more importantly, and in my opinion, one of the more important parts of all of this, that's not true. All of this is actually kind of important. But one important piece is brand voice here. In this, you can select the personality of your brand. There is a selection. You can choose up to 4. here, depending on, what your brand feels like, if you don't know the answer to this, I would ask AI. Either you can ask the Breeze assistant right here, or you can just send your website, send some emails um, to ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, and say, like, what's the personality of this brand? That might help if you don't already know. And if you do already know, I still think it might be worth sending it off and saying, this is what I think my brand is. Is that right? Um, because you might be wrong.
Yeah.
I am constantly telling AI when I'm writing social posts um, to make it more like personable and humorous and things like that. And it's, I don't know, quirky is probably what it probably would say about me or something like that. And I'm like, funny. It's like, eh. There's also default tones. This is gonna, really play into how you're talking, and there's a ton in here. Whimsical, urgent, whatever. Again, you can look at what you think it is, but again, I would still recommend asking AI to give you, like, an objective view, as well.
Mhm. That's a great
Um,
idea.
what I think is really cool about all of this brand voice stuff is Trisha, you and I have both been in marketing for years. Um, and when humans are writing, there's part of them in the writing. Like, it, I've been writing, I've kind of have been down a marketing email path for a while. Um, so most of my marketing writing is email specifically. And it's hard to not have my voice somewhere in there. And what I think is really cool about brand voice is, and not to say it takes the individual out, because that makes it sound bad. But I think it's more like you can have consistency. Um, you can have I think that's what it is for me, is it
Mm.
gives you the ability to have consistency, um, regardless of who's writing your emails.
But only if you're letting AI generate the content.
Yeah.
It's not gonna go in there and rewrite. If you put text into an email, it's not gonna go rewrite it unless you tell it to.
Mhm, mhm.
But you know what? There you go. That's a process that you can talk about with your teams in, like, they can write the email, and then I think you can, once it's in the email, highlight it, whatever, tell Breeze, go do this in brand voice.
Correct. Yeah, you're totally right, and that's personally how I like to use AI generally. Hey, I already told Trisha, Frank's in a mood today. He doesn't trust me that it stopped raining, I think, and he's just really upset.
I get
But
to
I like
see I get to see the mini Sighthound tonight.
Oh. Um, but yeah, I like to use AI like that. I like to write my own thing and then have AI, like, make it coherent is usually how I look at it. Because 'Cause I'll just, like, typo, I'll just, like, here's my brain, and then just make this make any sense. There are some advanced options here. These are optional, but some interesting things. Company mission here. Terms to avoid is really interesting. So that if there's things you don't want AI saying for a while, there's a word that was like such an AI word for a while, but
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Um, yeah, so that's a great example. Or I have companies that I've worked with where they're experts in a specific space,
Mhm,
and there's the way the layman talks about that thing that they do, and then there's the way the insiders talk about that thing. And so this would be great for them because there were two different ways to kind of describe a specific aspect of their business, and one showed that you don't know very much about it very
mhm.
clearly, and the other one showed that you were in.
I agree. Like, I had a client whose main audience was sonographers for a while, but there's sonographers and then there's ultrasound techs. And like, I just remember always being like, you had to use one or the other. Like, the other was like taboo. So, yeah,
Mm.
things like that. And then there's also replacement rules. So, replace this with this. This is a newer feature. For one thing, for example, um, is I do the morning show every day with Chris and George. We have a transcript and a write up. AI will will spell Chris's name wrong all the time.
Still?
Um, yeah, so one thing we've started doing is replacing the misspelling with the correct spelling to try to kind of correct that. That's a fairly specific example, but in my other example, you could replace ultrasound tech with sonographer. Also, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is some inclusivity rules there.
That's nice.
And you can change your tone for specific channels. What I think is kind of cool about this is specifically on social, you can change it per platform, even. So you can make Instagram a little more casual and LinkedIn a little more informative or something like that.
That's great. I had no idea there was so much control embedded deep within the advanced settings here.
Yeah. And even like sometimes I've had like our emails be a little bit more like casual because um or like, personal versus like your website might be a little more like forward facing. So like even things like that, I think
Yeah.
is cool. And
I was
the
talking to a
emails.
client yesterday, and it's a very, very relationship-based business, and I said, "I want your emails, everyone that you write, to sound like it's coming from you to me, like,
Mhm,
I want it written for one person."
mhm.
That would be a differentiator here, is that we want those emails to be very personal.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff in the brand kit there. Check that out. Um, then we have our company profile. This one's a little, this should be fairly quick to fill out. It's your name. A lot of this is going to come from the details there, your industry, things like that. You probably already have this filled out, but when you're doing this, worth double checking and things like that. Now, some of the fun stuff, in my opinion. First is creating the ICP, and this is where I pulled out this ICP assistant. And I think we can kind of play with this maybe sometime, Trisha, but the ICP assistant will help you kind of build out that ICP. Um, or am I misunderstanding what this does? I might be misunderstanding. It might just be adjusting for your ICP. Pressure test your ideas through the ideas of your best customer. Okay, so maybe it does something different than I thought it did. I thought it helps you identify your ICP, but I think it helps you like tailor your stuff towards your ICP.
I think so.
But here you can put your ICP in. I do a lot of lead scoring content, so I talk a lot about ICPs, ideal customer profiles. What I think is cool about this, worth noting here, a lot of this is B2B focused. So if you are in more of a B2C role, some of this may or may not be relevant. So just something to keep in mind there.
So I think that this is interesting too. I don't know what would come of it, but I've worked with a couple of clients whose customers were essentially consumers, although they were business people. And I'm talking about micro companies,
Mhm,
like pay, like yoga studios and
mhm,
bicycle shops and restaurants, right?
mhm,
Um, a lot of those organizations don't even have a business domain. like they have a Gmail address, they run everything off of their Gmail. I think it might be interesting for a segment like that, in that like I like that there's an other category where you might be able to describe, like, these aren't people that spend time on LinkedIn. Like,
Mhm.
they're on social, most likely they have Gmail addresses, like it's a 10-person company. um I like I like having that flexibility to do more in that other box.
Yeah, I agree. And again, like this is where it's like you were mentioning with Chris, he has so much documentation. AI is all about context. The more context you can give AI, the better you're going to see, and the less like generic stuff you're going to get back. I think really that's the biggest thing. People that complain that AI is just giving them generic content are probably not giving AI enough context. So this is all about giving AI context so it can actually give you like meaningful responses, unique responses, rather than just generic stuff. Because all it can do is guess. If you're not giving it the something, it's just going to make it fairly broad. So the, the more precise your ideal customer profile is, the better. So something to keep in mind there.
And
From
you and to your point too, like just hopping into Breeze and asking Breeze, what is my ICP? If you have Breeze connected and it can see your customers, that might be interesting to see what Breeze says.
yes,
Or maybe even like, help me fill out my ideal customer profile page in the portal. Tell me what my settings should be.
yeah, that is good. Yeah. And yeah, you don't have to fill all of this out. I just filled out a couple of things. Obviously the more you fill out, the better. But you might not know all of this, and that's okay. Also worth like coming back and reviewing it as you learn more there. And you can create multiples. So this is a HubSpot user one. I can create multiple ones. And then we get to the products and services, which is cool. So this is your value proposition of your organizations, the pain point that your company solves, and then you can do specific products or services that your company offers. And you can add multiple here too, the product name and then the product description. You can get as detailed as you want, really. I'm going to go. Frank is freaking out again, but but I do think you're right, Trisha. Like the more detailed you can get in any of this, the better. I filled this out for a client recently, and I sent ChatGPT their website, and I was like, "What should all of our products and services be?"
Nice.
Yeah. And then last, there is user profile. This is for you specifically. And this is just going to go to your user profile. So that, like the company profile, is actually using your own settings.
What do you think that user profile tab does?
I think it's probably just helps probably just helps AI speak more to your like
What you need. I'm in marketing, so this is what I'm going to need from you.
yeah.
Okay, got it.
You create content that's relevant and tailored to your organization, but also probably your own goals. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any questions? What do you think?
Is this the only area that you add stuff to, or is there like a knowledge-based section, or in each agent are there additional?
So there is the knowledge base. Where is that? In the Breeze, you can add knowledge. You can create a knowledge vault. You can add files. You can add CRM objects. You can just upload files, and then you can add, any parts of your CRM here. If I was to add contacts, I can add a filter, so I can look at only customers, for example. But if I was adding just like, here, Chris had one about the value path, and he has a lot of documentation in here about what the value path is, how he came up with it, glossary, team profiles, voice, principles.
Like I said, the man is well documented.
But because he has all of this in a knowledge vault, if we wanted to create an agent, he probably has one. No, he doesn't. Interesting. But if we wanted to create an agent or edit an agent, we can add in, we have the brand, we have ideal customer profiles, we have products, but we can also add in the value path. And now this brand is going to know all of the information in that vault. I'm not going to have to update it. I'm not going to have to tell it about it. In practice, these vaults are so powerful because I did a lead scoring course a couple of months ago now, ahead of the lead scoring tool sunset. For a while, I used a single ChatGPT thread because that's where all my context was. However, the thread went on for months, and if you've ever done this, you may know it starts to get confused. It starts being really slow because it's like it has so much to like sift through. But then it will also just like be really like weird. Chris was getting lovingly frustrated with me because I'd send him things and I'd be like, here, and he'd be like, this is like 90% great, but there's 10% that's just like random. And like doesn't make any sense, and I'd be like, oh, you're right, sorry, and like I just remove that. But what was happening was the AI was getting confused. However, if you keep all of that like context in a knowledge vault, I could have like kept separate conversations going and just reference the vault as needed. The vaults are really cool for that is all.
Okay.
Have you used any AIs that have used a vault, Trisha?
I don't know. I don't
Claude?
know. Is it the same thing as when you have like a project?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have multiple projects.
Mhm. Yeah, it's similar to having a project for sure.
Although I think dissimilar in ChatGPT, even if you have a project and load up like what I would think of as this as foundational documents,
Mhm.
documentation to that project, each chat within that project won't know to look at those documents unless you say, go look at them. And even possibly at the beginning of it, you have to tell it, like, make this available to every chat in this project. It was not intuitive at all.
Yeah. Well, you do also need to like add add things to the vault over time. Like as I continued to build out the lead scoring course, I would have had to continue to add documentation each week to the vault. But with any of these settings, like you're constantly learning and evolving. That's the whole point. Like loop marketing is all about like continuing to evolve and learn. Uh, so I think it's important that you also do that in your settings, both through the knowledge vault and through the settings themselves.
Yeah. So there you go. Set yourself up for success. Start filling out some of this stuff if you don't have it done. At least start with something.
Start with something.
And let us know if the results change. We didn't get around to, I really wanted to do sort of like a use case of what does it look like with and without those documents. You know they're going to be better.
They just are.
They just are.
All right. Until next week.
Till next week.